If you tell anyone what you saw, your job will be the least of your problems. The words hit harder than the slamming door behind her. Vera's pulse hammered in her ears as she backed away from the office. Wrong door, wrong moment, everything wrong. Just 5 seconds ago, she'd meant to deliver a stack of invoices. Now she was clutching the folder like a shield, her hands ice cold. She had seen 3 men. Suits, low voices, stacks of cash. A contract lay on the table with a red, confidential stamp, still wet with ink. One of them looked up, tall, sharp features, dark eyes that didn't blink. That's when he spoke. Vera didn't even nod. She just turned and walked out, legs barely working. The office corridor felt longer than ever. Her cheap flats slapped the linoleum, her breath stuck halfway to her throat. No one noticed her. She wanted to believe it didn't happen. Just an accident. Just confusion. But then, 20 minutes later, she returned to her desk, and froze. On top of her keyboard lay a note. A single sheet, folded once. 4:07, 7 p.m. Your future is on the line. No signature. Just that room number, the very room she'd accidentally walked into. Her heart skipped. Then hammered twice as hard. She looked around. Everyone in the department was busy, typing, talking, laughing. No eyes on her. She took the note and slipped it inside her sleeve like a criminal. The rest of the day crawled. Her mind spun. Who left the note? Was it a threat? A warning? A trap? At 6:59 p.m., she stood in front of the door. She almost turned around. But something made her stay. Something beyond fear, curiosity, desperation. That whisper inside her, this could be the moment. She knocked. Once. The door opened. Inside was not who she expected. Not the man with the dark eyes. Not the ones in suits. A different man. Older, but not old. Gray at the temples. Calm. Sitting behind a wide desk, hands folded, no expression on his face. Come in, Vera, he said. She didn't remember telling him her name. He gestured to the chair. She sat. Stiffly. There was silence. Then he slid a file across the desk. Her resume. Annotated. Highlighted. Handwritten notes in the margins. You've been here 14 months, he said. Department 6. No promotions. No complaints. You're invisible. She swallowed. But you saw something today. Her fingers clenched. And now I have one question for you, he continued, leaning in. Are you brave enough to stay silent, or smart enough to speak? A pause. The kind that splits a life in two. He smiled. I'm not here to threaten you, Vera. I'm here to offer you a door. She didn't breathe. A door out of this life. A door out of this life. Vera stared at him, searching his face for a hint of sarcasm. There was none. His voice was low, deliberate. Measured like a man used to control, not authority by force, but the silent kind. The kind that walks into a room and makes everyone sit straighter without knowing why. You think I want out? She asked, quieter than she meant. He leaned back. You're 26. You make barely enough to cover rent in a one-bedroom flat with a leaky faucet. You take 2 buses to get here. You eat lunch alone. And yet, he tapped the folder, you submitted 12 improvement proposals this year. 12. None of them accepted. No feedback. Just silence. Her throat burned. How did he know all that? I read them, he said. She blinked. All 12, he repeated. And you're right about most of it. He opened a drawer and placed a worn leather notebook on the desk. "Take this," he said. "Read it. Bring it back in 2 days. Then we'll talk about what you saw." Vera hesitated. "I'm not giving you a deal," he said. "This isn't some secret club. It's not blackmail. I'm offering you a choice. Stay where you are, forget this. Or take a step into something else. But once you do, there's no going back." She took the notebook. It was heavier than it looked. That night, she sat in her tiny kitchen, light bulb flickering above. She turned the pages. It wasn't what she expected, not a diary, not business notes. It was filled with outlines, flowcharts, names, project drafts, all sketched by hand. Some scratched out violently. Some pages ripped. But one thing was clear: whoever wrote it was building something. Something big. There were entries dated 2 years ago. Others, just weeks old. One phrase repeated over and over: build in the shadows. Launch in the light. She flipped to the back. There was a name she recognized. Alexander M. She Googled him. Alexander Martin. Majority shareholder. Investor. Technologist. Notorious for staying out of the press. No photos. No interviews. But behind dozens of startups. The kind of man who builds empires, then disappears. And he knew her name. She didn't sleep that night. By morning, something inside her had shifted. It wasn't confidence. It wasn't certainty. It was hunger. Not for money. Not even success. For more. At 6:55 p.m. the next day, she stood outside 407. Notebook in hand. And questions burning in her throat. The door clicked shut behind her. This time, there were no files on the desk. Just Alexander. His sleeves rolled up. The leather notebook now beside a black mug, steam rising in lazy spirals. "You read it?" he asked without looking up. She nodded. "What did you see?" Vera opened her mouth, then stopped. What had she seen? Ideas. Systems. Scrawled frustrations. Half-built models. Names she didn't recognize, and one she couldn't forget. The files from yesterday flashed again in her mind. The whispering. The money. "I saw a plan," she said. "Pieces of something." Alexander looked up. Sharp, quiet eyes. "And?" "Something that's being hidden," she added. He leaned back. No surprise in his face. Only patience. "You saw 12 seconds of something you weren't meant to see," he said. 12 seconds that could have gone unnoticed. But you stayed. You watched. That's what interested me. Her pulse quickened. He stood, walked to the window. The city buzzed below. "There's a project," he said. "An idea. One I've been growing for 3 years. It lives off silence. It survives because people like you don't ask questions." He turned. "But you did." Vera swallowed. He returned to the desk. Opened a drawer. Pulled out a manila envelope. "This," he said, "is the next stage. I wasn't going to do this for another month, but you accelerated the clock." She took the envelope. Inside, a badge, temporary access, 2 signed NDAs, and a single-page briefing titled Phase 4. Internal Ethics Review, Red Line Breach. "What is this?" she whispered. He looked at her long. "It's the reason I don't sleep," he said. "And the reason 3 men in that room yesterday may try to shut it down." Vera stared at the words, Red Line Breach. She wanted to ask what it meant. What exactly she'd walked into. But her voice caught. Alexander reached for his mug. "You have a mind for systems, Vera," he said. "You see what others skip. You work beneath your pay grade and beyond your position. You see cracks forming, and try to fix them." She looked up. "I don't need another loyal employee," he said. "I need someone who doesn't scare easily." Silence settled. Then he asked the question that would change everything. "Will you come in, or stay comfortable on the sidelines?" She didn't answer him. Not right away. Instead, Vera stared at the paper in her hands. Red line breach. The words looked sterile, official, like something a lawyer might slip under a door in the middle of the night. But they didn't feel sterile. They felt like a warning. Or a test. "What's behind the red line?" she finally asked. Alexander didn't blink. "A truth that costs too much to tell publicly. A risk we didn't expect to face. And now, a decision I can't make alone. You want me to help you decide?" He shook his head. "I want you to see it. And decide who you are." That night, Vera sat alone on the tram, the envelope pressed to her chest like a shield. Her stop passed. She didn't care. Her brain replayed everything. The envelopes. The files. The money. The men whispering like conspirators. And Alexander, calm in the eye of it all. She barely slept. The next morning, she used the badge. The new floor was nothing like hers. No cubicles. Just glass doors, secure rooms, muted hallways. At 7:05 a.m., she walked into a meeting room with 5 chairs and a laptop already logged in. One folder on the screen. Internal Ethics Report, restricted. She clicked it. Line after line filled the screen. Algorithms. Data spikes. Something called behavioral cascade modeling. Notes about simulated consent. User response thresholds. And buried deep, a line in bold. Phase 4 has crossed projected ethical tolerance markers. Whistleblow protocol suspended pending internal arbitration. Her fingers hovered. Her throat tightened. She didn't fully understand the tech, but she understood enough. They'd built something that manipulated people. Gently. Invisibly. At scale. The software adjusted what people saw, how they saw it, when they saw it, and even how they felt about it. All in real time. A tool designed for engagement, but now it was doing more than selling. It was predicting behavior. Shaping it. Quietly. And someone had just disabled the warning system. At 9 a.m., she walked back into Alexander's office, pale and silent. He stood by the window, back to her. "You saw it," he said. She nodded. "You want out?" She didn't answer. Because she didn't know. 3 days passed. Vera didn't quit. But she didn't say yes either. She kept working, silently, cautiously. Watching. Reading. Her desk remained the same, but everything felt different. Like the floor beneath her had shifted. And then, on Thursday at 4:22 p.m., she received an internal message. No subject. No sender. Just a file. She scanned it once, then again, slower. It was a list. Names. Hundreds of them. Each line had 3 columns, ID, status, and one word, adjusted, or rejected. Some names had dates next to them. Others were blank. Some she recognized. Coworkers. Former employees. Even a barista from the cafe downstairs. And then, at the bottom of the list, she saw her own name. Vera Kovalchuk, status, pending. Her breath caught. What did it mean? What did adjusted imply? Rejected from what? She printed the list. Slipped it into her bag. That night, she skipped dinner, closed the curtains, and spread the paper out like a crime scene. Line by line. Name by name. She Googled a few. Found almost nothing. Until she reached Larissa Brenner, one of the rejected names. Search, nothing. But on a hunch, Vera dug into archived employment files. Larissa had worked in legal. Same company. Fired 8 months ago. No reason listed. Vera stared at the screen. Then opened her email and typed a message to the last known address in Larissa's file. Hi, my name is Vera. I think we need to talk. Urgently. She hit send. The email bounced. Invalid address. 2 hours later, while walking home through the underpass near the metro station, she saw it. A message. Written in red chalk on the brick wall. Stop digging, Vera. She froze. Her bag slipped off her shoulder. The hairs on her arms stood straight. No one was around. No sound. Just the fading squeal of a train below and that one line, written at eye level, freshly scrawled. She didn't tell Alexander. Not yet. Because maybe, just maybe, the list wasn't his. Vera didn't sleep that night. The message on the wall burned behind her eyelids. The red chalk. Her name. It hadn't just been a warning. It had been a response. Someone knew what she was doing. But who? And how? The next morning, she sat at her usual desk, acting normal, hands trembling just beneath the surface. At 11:03 a.m., an internal memo came through, a company-wide announcement. Effective immediately, the Ethics Oversight Committee was being dissolved. No reason given. No comments allowed. Vera stared at the screen. That was the department responsible for investigating things like red line breaches. The timing wasn't random. At lunch, Alexander appeared beside her without a word, nodding toward the elevator. She followed. No one stopped them. Back in 407, he sat quietly, hands folded. You saw the list, he said. She didn't ask how he knew. You were never supposed to, he continued. That wasn't mine. She narrowed her eyes. Then whose? He hesitated. For the first time, truly hesitated. Then, softly, someone who used to be on my side. Vera waited. He didn't elaborate. Instead, he stood, went to a drawer, and pulled out a black box. Opened it slowly. Inside, a phone. Old model. Burner. Take this, he said. At 2:15 a.m., you'll get a call. Answer it. Say nothing. Just listen. To what? But he was already looking away. And if I don't? He didn't smile this time. Then you'll never know the rest. That night, Vera placed the phone on her windowsill. At exactly 2:15 a.m., it rang. 1 vibration. 2. She picked it up. Static. Then, a low, muffled voice. Not Alexander. A woman. Breathing heavy. Whispering. They're already using it. You think it's starting, it started months ago. You're not on the outside anymore, Vera. You're inside the machine. Click. Silence. She sat there, frozen. What had already started? What was being used? She didn't notice the figure watching her from across the street. The next morning, she arrived at work to find her ID badge disabled. The gate didn't beep. The scanner blinked red. Twice. She stepped back. Security was already walking toward her. No access, one of them said. You've been reassigned. By who? The man didn't answer. just handed her an envelope. Temporary relocation, archive level. It sounded benign. Routine. But Vera knew better. Archive level was where interns got lost, where old data went to die. It was the company's basement, both literally and symbolically. She took the elevator down. The hallway buzzed with cheap fluorescent lights. Her new office had no windows. No chair. Just a terminal and a flickering lamp. No contact from Alexander. No more burner calls. No list. For 2 days, she sat in that tomb-like room, scanning old logs, watching patterns, cross-checking records that no one would ever look at again. Until she found his name. Sergei Mishin. One of the 3 men from the room she wasn't supposed to see. His file had been quietly altered a week ago, status changed from partner to terminated. No memo. No statement. And then she saw the timestamp. Termination, 11:07 p.m., same night as the burner call. Her chest tightened. Coincidence? Or consequence? On the 3rd day, someone knocked. She turned, expecting a security guard. Maybe Alexander. Instead, it was Mila. Her only real friend in the company. Sharp. Loyal. Quiet. The only one who ever asked how Vera really was. I need to show you something, Mila whispered, checking the hall. I think they're watching you. They walked to the parking garage, silent. Mila pulled out her phone. Opened her gallery. Showed a photo. It was blurry, low light. But unmistakable. Vera, standing at her window, 2:15 a.m. Taken from across the street. Someone sent this to me, Mila said. No message. Just the image. Vera's mouth went dry. And that's not the worst part, Mila added, pulling up a second photo. This time, a folder on someone else's desktop. Labeled, Kovalchuk, phase pending. The same phrase from the list. Vera backed away. What does it mean? Mila asked. But Vera didn't answer. She was already turning, already walking. Something had snapped. She wouldn't wait anymore. Not for permission. Not for safety. Not for anyone to save her. Vera ran. Not fast, not away, but toward something. Toward answers. Toward risk. She didn't stop until she reached her apartment. Locked the door. Drew every curtain. Turned off her phone. She took out the folder. The list. The printouts Mila gave her. Phase pending. What phase? Why her? And why had Sergei Mishin, one of the 3 men, vanished the night she got the call? The question wasn't if she was involved anymore. It was how deep. She powered up her old laptop, the one she hadn't used in months. No company software. No surveillance. She started digging. Back into the architecture diagrams from Alexander's notebook. The keywords in the ethics report. The internal software that handled behavior tracking. And that's when she found it. Not in a file. Not in a folder. But in the code itself. A buried command string. kset // dual path init, pending /if, trigger, equals match then, modify. Her own initials, K, Kovalchuk. It wasn't just tracking people. It was testing them. Waiting for something. A trigger. If it happened, the system reacted. If it didn't, you stayed pending. But what was the trigger? What were they watching her for? She leaned back, pulse racing. The room felt colder. Was Alexander behind this? Or had she misunderstood him all along? Maybe the note, the door, the call. Maybe he had been testing her from the beginning. Her screen flickered. Then went black. She froze. No power cut. The lamp was still on. Everything else worked. Only the laptop. Then, a new sound. From outside her apartment door. A scratch. Then a pause. Then a single knock. Not loud. Not impatient. Just certain. She didn't move. The knock came again. And then, silence. 10 seconds. 20. She stood, heart pounding, and crept to the peephole. But when she looked, there was no one there. Only a white envelope taped to the door. She opened it with shaking hands. Inside, a photograph. A meeting room. 3 chairs. 1 screen. Empty. And a handwritten note. Phase begins. 4 days. 4 days. That's all the note said. No signature. No instructions. Just a countdown. Vera pinned the photo to the wall. Sat in silence. Then wrote one word beneath it, why. Then circled it. Again. And again. She didn't sleep. Didn't eat. She watched the world from behind the curtains. Every car. Every person. She wasn't afraid. She was calculating. Day 1, she mapped the building's access logs using an admin loophole she had uncovered months ago. Everyone who had entered floor 9, where she once saw the red line, had authorization except 2 names. Both marked temporary clearance, executive override. One of them was hers. The other, Mila. That night, she confronted her. Face to face. No pretext. No smiles. You went to floor 9, Vera said. Mila didn't deny it. I was told to keep you close, she replied. Not harm you. By who? Mila shook her head. They said you'd ask. They said not to answer. They? Mila's eyes shifted, and for a second, Vera saw fear. Real, tangible fear. Mila, she pressed, what is phase? What happens in 4 days? But her friend only whispered, you've already triggered it. And walked away. Vera stood alone in the alley behind the office, breath clouding in the cool night air. Her fingers twitched, heart pounding. Triggered what? She rushed home. Opened her laptop again. This time, traced her own digital history. Logins. Clicks. Key phrases she'd typed over the past 3 weeks. All of it, recorded. And tagged with the same identifier, trigger pattern cassette. It wasn't just about watching her. It was about pushing her. Toward what? She typed an email to Alexander. No subject. No greeting. You said I had a choice. You lied. The choice was made for me. Phase is live. I'm in. But I'm not playing your game. She hit send. The message bounced. Blocked. She froze. Then, another email arrived. No sender. No subject. Just a video file. She played it. It was security footage. Room 407. The night of the burner call. Alexander at his desk. And 3 men standing across from him. One of them, Sergei Mishin. Another, a face she'd never seen. And the third, her. Vera blinked. It was her. Same hair. Same jacket. Same frame. But she'd never been in that room that night. The figure leaned forward, whispered something to Alexander. He nodded. The camera angle didn't catch her face, only her profile. The resemblance was perfect. Too perfect. The video cut out. Then a message flashed on screen. "You are not the only Vera." She stared at the screen. The words wouldn't go away. "You are not the only Vera." And for the first time since this began, she didn't feel fear. She felt something else. Focus. The pieces were shifting too fast now. The list. The algorithm. The burn phone. The video. The girl who looked exactly like her. Phase wasn't just data manipulation. It wasn't just about ethics. It was about identity. Vera turned to the files she had copied from the internal drive. Dug deeper. Down into the Phase 4 root folder. There it was, a buried document. Titled simply, Kovalchuk Study, Prototype Behavioral Forks. She opened it. Dozens of profiles. Simulated personas based on real employee data. Habits. Speech patterns. Decision trees. Responses to controlled stress events. And one prototype tagged as VK. Alpha subject. Live subject engagement, commenced. Shadow subject created, March 19th. Observer unaware of simulation boundaries. Her hands trembled. They had cloned her behavior. Not physically. Not with genes. But with data. They built a second her, digitally. Put her into scenarios. Watched how she reacted. Used that model to test what a real Vera would do. And she had been part of her own experiment. Unaware. Every risk she took. Every step she made. Every question, predicted. Fed into a system that watched from the inside. A behavioral mirror. But then, something changed. She made a choice that didn't match the projection. The fork failed. The model broke. That's when the system flagged her as active. That's when Phase began. She looked back at the video, the woman in the footage. Not a twin. Not a clone. Just code. But code built so well it looked like her. Moved like her. Fooled Alexander. Or, no. No. He knew. He always knew. She opened his old notebook again. Page after page. Then stopped at one line she hadn't understood before. We test for intelligence. But what we need is unpredictability. He wasn't measuring loyalty. He was waiting for rebellion. For divergence. For her to stop following patterns, and start writing her own. Vera stood. She didn't need passwords anymore. She was the breach. The system had been built to find out who could break it. Who could escape the loop. And she had. On her own. Not because someone saved her. Not because someone gave her a chance. But because she saw the pattern, and refused to stay in it. At exactly midnight, a new message arrived. From Alexander. 2 words. It's yours. No context. No signature. She closed the laptop. Looked out the window. And smiled. Not because it was over. But because, finally, it had begun. The beginning was a test. The ending, a choice. And somewhere in between, she stopped being the subject. She became the author.